As I always said in what you just said there, if everybody had the same way of thinking, it would be a boring world. And,
yes.
I mean, you're different, I'm different.
Well,
and
diversity, I like to say, is the fuel that powers the engine of natural selection that drives evolution.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if there's no diversity, there'd be no evolution, because there's nothing for natural selection to select. You know, if everybody is an identical clone, you pick out that one from the population, it makes no difference in the population overall.
True.
But having diversity, if conditions change, then people who are, say, one end might have some advantage. And when I gave the talk about cross-dressing and gender identity, I did bring in some of the research about what they found about some, homosexuality is, there are parts of the brain in male homosexuals that are more similar in size and configuration to women's brains.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably the parts of the brain which are responsible for sexual attraction. And when hormones get turned on, that part of the brain starts working, and the person finds, hey, instead of being attracted to the opposite sex, they're attracted to the same sex. That's sort of how But one of the things you keep hearing from the people who do like to say, well, there's nothing natural about homosexuality, is that evolution would get rid of it. Well, if you stop and think about it, specifically for homosexuality, if you're in a hunter-gatherer society, which people were until, 5,000-6,000 years ago,
mm-hmm.
and in some societies even more recent than that, during a time of famine or a shortage, if you have, say, an uncle or an aunt who aren't producing children because they're not inclined to do so for whatever reason, then you may have an extra set of hands to help hunt and gather for their nieces and nephews. So a mother who produces, say, normal breeding offspring and produces the occasional homosexual might give her grandchildren a better chance for success.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, you wouldn't see, in that scenario, you'd have a reason to keep some homosexuals in a population. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't necessarily be bred out because they don't breed. But it gets complicated. Now, if you look at that, they have done research and they found that homosexuals tend to be younger. Specifically, male homosexuals are usually younger siblings. They usually have an older, non-homosexual brother. Not always, but if you look at the statistics, they tend to be.
Really?
So again, if you look at that would tie back to, well, that could be an evolutionary advantage in a hunter-gatherer society. Now, as I say, why cross-dressing? Well, I don't know. It could be that before I continue there, scatterbrained. There was an article in Scientific American about rats. If you, say, cause a female to have an excess of female hormone while she's pregnant, the young male rats would tend to mount other males. They'll be homosexual rats.
Oh, really?
Yes. So if there's a hormonal imbalance, that can cause homosexuality, at least in rats. Now, people aren't that different from rats. Say what you will.
Tony, speaking of rats,
Mm-hmm.
How many, we would never know this, have you, in the 50s, when you found this out, you thought about suicide?
No.
No?
I don't think so.
A lot of gay people committed suicide in those days.
There was a long time when towards the end of university, I wondered what the hell I was going to do. But no, it was never suicidal. I think in that age, there's a tendency to have some depression.
Mm-hmm.
But no.
Drinking, no drugs or stuff like that, no. Of course, we all drank. My God.
Hey, I went through the '60s, and the worst I ever had was underage drinking.
Underage. Yeah.
I can honestly say, if I ever run for office, I can honestly say I've never had an illegal drug other than alcohol when I was under 21.
Really?
Hmm.
Well, I can't say that. And I'm not going to be like Bill Clinton and say that I smoke a joint, but I never inhale it. Yeah, right.
Well, I can honestly say that.
No? I don't like marijuana. When I talk, I get depressed. I don't like it at all.
No.
And when I talk, I keep my mouth shut. So a lot of people should say that the government should give it to me as medical use.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's another thing. But so you just rave on in the 50s, 60s, and cross-dress here and there, and
As I say, it was always in private.
always in private.
Mind you, occasionally you'd be caught out, but
What happens there?
oh,
Does your face turn red?
usually, I think my father caught me once.
Yeah, what do you say?
Well, he wasn't. He just closed the door and left. And I think he always thought from that point on that I was probably homosexual.
Really?
In fact, when I did get married, not my parents, but my grandfather made a comment. Oh, so you're not one of those, you know. That wasn't his exact words, but that was the sentiment.
Okay, listen, we're going to do...
So I gather my father had discussed it with his parents.
Oh, yes. Listen, we're going to do one more part. Hold it.